Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Off the Bench podcast. My name is Robert Sellers, and coming at you from a very frigid Atlanta, Georgia right now from my grandmother's backyard. And tonight we're talking about the Players Era Festival Day 3. This was an amazing event. I really loved watching it. I love Feast Week. Something about this week in November in college basketball really gets me psyched back into the sport and gets me excited about the year to come. And then, of course, the months of February and March, which are just so amazing. And I previewed, or not previewed, but I reacted to day one and day two of the Players Era Festival earlier this week. So if you want to check out those videos for some reason, you can go look at them. But this is day three. It was championship day at Players Era, and Michigan just absolutely made a mockery of Gonzaga. I mean, that game was not even close. A 40-point win for Michigan, which honestly was just the norm for the Wolverines in this Players Era tournament. Every team they played, whether it was San Diego State, Auburn, or Gonzaga, they absolutely blew them out of the water, and they looked like the best team in the country this week, 100%. So I think that's the main story of the Players Era Festival event. But I think the second main story is how well Kansas played. I mean, my goodness, they were without Darren Peterson, without their best player, without their captain, their leader, their five-star freshman, and they still got third place in this tournament and went undefeated. So they played out of their minds. I've got Alabama, Maryland on right now. St. John's went 1-2 in this tournament. Very disappointing for them. Iowa State went undefeated. And we just had some amazing basketball. Even some teams might not have had the best record in this tournament. They might not have won the games that they maybe would have liked to, but they still showed out, still played well. And I think overall this event was a huge success. Although we had so many blowouts, like there were so many games in this Players Era tournament that were just not even close. Which, I mean, I get it, it's early in the year, teams are still figuring themselves out, but that was a little disappointing. But other than that, fantastic event. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited about it next year too. I think it's going to get even better with that field of teams. But that being said, let's break down the championship game of this tournament where Michigan just absolutely throttled Gonzaga. They stuffed them in a locker. They left them dead on the side of the road. Whatever analogy you want to use it. Because Michigan won this game 101-61. And this isn't San Diego State they were playing. This isn't UNLV. This isn't Syracuse. They dominated the team that has been dominating everybody this entire season. If you're a big college football fan and you're just coming on here to check out what happened recently in college basketball this week, the comparison would be if Ohio State, who's been dominating everybody this year, got blown out by Michigan. That's the comparison. Of course, the Michigan basketball team looks a lot better than the Michigan football team this year, so I'm not making that direct comparison. But Gonzaga just dominated Creighton early in the year. They dominated Oklahoma. They beat a really good Alabama team. They smoked whoever they played in the second game of the Players Air tournament. I'm forgetting who it is right now. But they have just been absolutely crushing teams. And they did not stand a chance against Michigan. They looked like a high school basketball team against Michigan. Their best player, Graham Ike, scored 1 point against Michigan. This is a guy that was averaging over 20 points a game before this one against the Wolverines. So, yes, right now, Michigan 100% looks like the best team in the country after this tournament. I know Purdue's been great. I know Houston has a lot of potential. But I'm just saying, right now, Michigan does look like the best team in the country. I'm still not picking them to win the national championship, but they look phenomenal. MVP of this game and MVP of this whole tournament, for me, Yaxel Lindeborg, 100%. He's been so good. And, I mean, this is the most points he scored in a game this tournament, and it's only 20, which is not that much. I mean, we saw LeBaron Philon go crazy against Gonzaga. We saw Todd Pettiford put up like 27 points against St. John's today. We've seen more individual amazing performances, but to me, Yaxel Lindeborg is so good because he is so unselfish, he's so efficient, and he is so well-rounded. I mean, you can just see it in his stat line in this game. He only took 9 shots, only took 5 threes. And Dusty May said this in the post-game interview with TNT. He said that as a coaching staff, they've been begging Yaxel Lindeborg to take more threes. They've been telling him, man, you got to shoot it more. You got to take ownership of this team. You got to go out there and be more aggressive. And Yaxel is just kind of refusing. He's saying, you know what? No, I'm gonna open up more opportunities for my teammates. I'm gonna shoot the ball. I'm gonna be aggressive, but at the right times. I'm gonna use my athleticism, and I'm gonna put in 100% effort on defense. And I'm gonna be a facilitator and a good basketball player rather than a elite scorer. And those are different things. And I think Yaxel Lindenberg is doing such a perfect job at being the former, a great basketball player. And that is why Michigan, in my opinion, is so consistent and so great. So I thought this matchup was really interesting between Michigan and Gonzaga. Of course, I've been saying all year that I haven't liked Michigan's starting lineup. Having, of course, Adai Mara is amazing at the five, fantastic defender. He's a great scorer. He's a great player. Adai Mara should be their starting five no matter what. And Yaxel Lindenborg also has to start, but in my opinion, he's more of a traditional four, and they should bench Morez Johnson and bring him in off the bench as a change of pace power forward. I think that would be great. That's his role, and I think he would be amazing at that. But Dusty May insists on starting those three bigs, starting Yaxel at the three, Morez Johnson at the four, and Adai Mara at the five. And in this game and in this tournament, it worked perfectly, completely against what I think they should do. And I think it really worked well against Gonzaga too, because they just completely took away their front court pretty much. They said, we're going to be bigger than you, we're going to be stronger than you, we're going to be more physical than you in the front court, in the paint, and we're going to suffocate you from there and make your guards beat us from the outside. And you can see that in the fact that Graham Ike, 1 point. 1 point from Graham Ike. That is crazy. 0 assists. 0 for 9 from the field. Graham Ike, Gonzaga's best player, the heart and soul of their team, their leader for the last 3 seasons, just got completely negated from this one, which is wild that Michigan was able to do that. Shout out to Adai Mara for being a 7'3" athletic monster in the paint and not letting Ike get to his spot or even facilitate it to his teammates. Even Braden Huff, this was not. I wrote him down as the MVP of this game for Gonzaga because he was. He played good. He had 14.7 for 17 from the field, but in his previous games, Braden Huff way more efficient than 7 for 17. They rattled him. They made things difficult for Braden Huff. They didn't let him get to his spots. Even Tyon Grant Foster, who's not really a dominant front court player, he's more of a wing who loves to attack lanes and loves to get downhill. They made it tough for him. He was only 6 for 13 from the field. He had way better games against Alabama and against Maryland, who is the team that they throttled, I believe. But I'm just saying, Michigan's front court defensively are dominant, and it worked against a Gonzaga team that didn't have a lot of support from their guards. They haven't had a lot of scoring support from their guards all season, and they didn't have much from this game either. They also did a great job closing out and pushing Gonzaga off the 3-point line. The Zags were only 3 for 22 from 3. I mean, it is tough to win a game going 3 for 22 from 3, especially when you're giving up over 100 points. And I mean, I'm just going to keep talking highly of Michigan because they look so phenomenal. But another one of my worries going into this tournament for Michigan was their turnover problem. And they turned it over 14 times, which isn't great. But when you turn it over 14 times, that's not considered a turnover problem. Michigan had been turning it over nearly 20 times in their games early in the season. And so they've cut back a lot on that. And I think the reason for that is the improvement of Elliot Cadeau. Elliot Cadeau looks like an entirely different player out there, in my opinion. I mean, first of all, he's got the threat of his shooting. His shooting has improved so much. I know he was only 1 for 4 from 3 in this game, but in other games or in other years, Elliot Cadeau is just 0 for 0 from 3 because he doesn't have the confidence to shoot those shots. But now he does, and because of that, defenders have to respect that more, and he can beat closeouts better, he can get downfield better, and because of that, he's able to have games like this where he has 13 assists. He's not looking to score first, he's looking to facilitate. And when you can have a point guard that can facilitate not only in the half court, but also in transition, you're going to get games like this with less turnovers. And with a guy like Elliot Cadeau, your starting point guard, having 13 assists. Gonzaga had 17 assists as a team, and Elliot Cadeau nearly had just as many just by himself. So I think Elliot Cadeau, it was a main reason why this team played so well in this game, and it's the main reason why this turnover problem is getting negated, and the shooting is improving so much for this Michigan Wolverines basketball team. They were 13 for 27 from 3. That's so much better than they were early in the season. I think Trey McKinney is starting to get much more real minutes, and I think he is an amazing shooter. You got to step up on that guy. 3 for 5 from 3-point range in this tournament. He was money the whole tournament, all 3 games. If he got an open look, he was hitting it. Nimari Burnett has been really struggling this year too. He was dynamite tonight, 6 for 6 from 3-point land, and he also gave a lot of effort on the offensive board. He had 6 rebounds in this game. So, I mean, every single one of Michigan's issues going into this game, they have fixed. Dusty May is just a coached, dialed in right now. He is so locked in on the culture of this team. I mean, Yaxel Lindeborg says it himself all the time. This culture is so much different than where I was at with UCF. I mean, they are so confident. They play with so much confidence, and you can clearly see why. I mean, they are such a skilled team. If they go up against a team that doesn't have dominant guards that can stretch these bigs, that can make them uncomfortable, this is going to be the result every time because they are so good and so dominant and so big in the front court. That I mean, this defense is phenomenal. With how good Adai Mara is as a rim protector at 7'3", with how athletic and versatile Lindeborg is, he can guard pretty much every position, and Moraes Johnson is just big and strong and intimidating. So I mean, man, this Michigan team is going to be scary. If Cadeau can play like this, if they can shoot like this, and if their front court can be this dynamic, barring injury, Michigan could 100% make a Final Four run if they get the right matchups. And this Michigan team, them and Purdue, that's going to be a fantastic matchup. I mean, my goodness. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lory going against this backcourt, and then Trey Kaufman-Renn trying to score against these three titans is going to be really entertaining to watch. Those matchups are going to be phenomenal this year, and you can definitely look forward to that. As far as Gonzaga goes, I mean, I have yet to fully buy into Gonzaga. I didn't buy in on them the last couple podcasts that I have made about the Players Era tournament. I believe that they are peaking right now. Here, I'll make my face go away so y'all can see their whole box score. I don't think that Gonzaga is going to develop much this year. I think we are seeing peak Gonzaga right now because of their age, because of their experience. And age and experience isn't a bad thing. It just means that you're going to look much better right out of the gates than you are heading into the latter half of the season. But I mean, that being said, Tyler Grant Foster still played great. He's still a great athlete, a great scorer. EK is not going to have another game like this where he only scores 1 point and is 0 for 9 from the field with no assists. That's just not going to happen. To me, I don't think their guards are at the same level as a lot of other elite teams in college basketball, and I think because of that, I don't trust them to make a run this year in March. But this is still a good Gonzaga team. They're still going to be really well coached. I am really interested in seeing. I think going into the year, I thought Braden Smith was going to be the X factor on this team. No, not Braden Smith, the bearded one on Purdue. Braden Smith of Gonzaga, and he was great in this game. Had 7 assists to just 1 turnover. He's been coming off the bench. I'm going to be interested to see if he starts over Mario St. Superi. But I mean, they're both great. The point guard position to me is not the problem with Gonzaga. To me, it's the inconsistent shooting. I mean, Steele Ventures in this game he's been great this year in this tournament, but he was 0 for 4 from 3 in this one. And outside of him, they don't really have any elite 3-point shooters. And I think that's a little bit of a problem when you go up against teams that have really good front courts that are going to dominate your bigs like Michigan did. You know, teams like Florida, teams like Michigan, those teams that are just, I mean, you're not going to see any of those teams in the West Coast Conference, of course. But when you go up against those teams in these big games, your guards are going to have to step up and your shooters are going to have to be there. And in my opinion, they just didn't show up in this game. And if it happens once, it can sure as heck happen again. So that's my opinion on Gonzaga. I still think they're a good team. I still think they're going to be well coached. They will make the tournament for sure. I just think a lot of people after their first couple games in the Players Era were talking about Gonzaga like they were one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country. I think Michigan 100% emphatically proved that to be incorrect. I mean, this is the worst loss that Mark Few has ever taken as the head coach of Gonzaga. At least I think it is. I mean, you tell me the other game that Gonzaga lost by 40. But I do like Mark Few. I really respect him. I really respect the Gonzaga program more than almost any program in the country. So I still believe in them. I just don't think they're a top 5 team in the country. That's my opinion. But Michigan definitely looks like one right now. So big shout out to the Michigan Wolverines. The only reason I don't think they're going to win the national championship is because I don't think that this play from Elliot Cadeau is going to be as consistent. And I think the shooting is still not exactly where I want it to be. So it's more of a backcourt problem than a front court problem, but they could definitely prove me wrong. If Michigan wins the national championship, I will be surprised, but I won't be like shocked. There's a difference between surprised and shocked, and I would be more in the surprised realm and not the shocked realm. So big shout out to Michigan for making a mockery of the Players Era Festival field and just dominating their way through. I think they won all 3 of their games by a combined 110 points against 3 tournament teams. So just a huge performance from Michigan. This is going to light a fire under their program. They're going to be just one of the stories of the sport this year. And just what a job Dusty May has done. I mean, can we just remember that this is Dusty May's second year with Michigan? And last year they were phenomenal with Danny Wolf, and this year, my goodness, Dusty May, you have put together a squad. He's been great in the transfer portal, and God, he's just been. I have so much respect for what he's done as a college basketball coach, getting this team to this position where they're dominating the field like they are. So that's what I got for this game for Michigan's run. Let's talk about the third place game. Kansas getting a huge win over Tennessee, their biggest win of the year for sure. Um, the story of this Kansas team going into this Players Era Festival. They're without Darren Peterson, their star player. I mean, their best offensive weapon, their best overall player, their NBA prospect, who could be the number one pick in the NBA draft. And a lot of people thought they were really going to struggle because of that. And they lost to Duke in Madison Square Garden without Darren Peterson. They lost to North Carolina on the road early in this year with Darren Peterson. And they're going to this Player Era Festival, and people are kind of rocking back and forth, and they're saying, Kansas, man, I don't know if they're gonna be able to compete. I can't really see it. And they went out and they won all three of their games. I mean, they didn't dominate teams like Gonzaga did or like Michigan did, but they were 3-0. And their first two wins went against Notre Dame and Syracuse. I mean, not particularly two elite teams in this field or in the country, but you won the games, and then you just got your signature win against a very, very good Tennessee basketball team. So big shout out to Kansas for getting this done. MVP of this game, in my opinion, was Melvin Council Jr. And it's just interesting to me. In the three games that Kansas has played, I've had their MVPs be Flory Badunga against Notre Dame. It was Trey White against Syracuse, and it's now Melvin Council Jr. against Kansas. And it's fascinating because I thought going into this year, Kansas was going to be so one dimensional. It was going to be Darren Peterson, Darren Peterson, Darren Peterson. He's going to carry the team. He's going to do everything. The offense is going to run through him. And that's what this offense is going to look like. That's what this team is going to look like. But removing Peterson has brought out this well rounded, well coached machine. And they're not blowing people out. This is not the most talented team in the world without Peterson. But I mean, they play as a team. And I think what they've done is so impressive. And this win over Tennessee, so impressive. This is a good defensive team. They just give a lot of effort on the defensive side of the basketball court. I mean, Felix Okpara was held to just 3 rebounds in this game. I know Jalen Carey went in there and got 10 rebounds, but Flory Badunga has been playing great. He's a good defender down in the paint, better than I thought he was going to be going into the season. Bryson Tiller has been strong down there. Of course, he's not the best scorer, but I mean, he's been a good defender in the paint for sure. And then they've got some length on the backcourt too. Melvin Council has a lot of effort. Trey White is a good defender, and they're just a tough team to score on. And then the reason why I made Melvin Council the MVP, it's not because of his efficiency. 6 for 17 from the field is not great. He didn't shoot the three ball well. I mean, he was 0 for 1 from three. He's not a really big 3-point shooter. But I just loved how he played with no fear. I mean, he just went straight to the basket, whether it was on in transition or in the half court. If he saw a lane, he was attacking it. And I really like seeing fearless play from any college basketball player. And I saw it in this game from Melvin Council. Also, didn't turn the ball over at all. When you have 0 turnovers from your point guard, it's a good day, let me tell you. And it was a good day for Melvin Council. 4 assists to 0 turnovers is fantastic. And I mean, Trey White had another great game. He's developing into a good shooter. And again, just a great defender. And he's feisty. I mean, since when have we seen a Kansas team that is not the most talented in the world, but is feisty and fights and works together as a team to win basketball games? I mean, they were fantastic in this game. And bring Darren Peterson back, Kansas could be a contender. And that's not the craziest thing to say, in my opinion. I think at the Players Era Festival, this is where this Kansas team has come together. I mean, I would not be shocked if Kansas goes on a run if they get Darren Peterson back. I mean, this team, it already seems like they're playing with a chip on their shoulder because of what everyone's been saying about them. And without Darren Peterson, they're nothing. They can't do anything. Once they get Peterson back, ooh, it could be scary. It could be real scary. And if it's real scary, I mean, the Big 12 is going to be even more fun. There is so much talent. There are so many good teams to watch in the Big 12. I mean, you just can go through it. Houston and Kansas are looking phenomenal. Arizona looks spectacular. Texas Tech has taken some losses early in the year, but I think they're going to be an elite team for sure. Arizona State just looked really good in Maui. BYU is really talented. They're going to be super fun to watch. The Big 12, man, I'm telling you. PJ Haggerty's over at Kansas State getting buckets. So I think this is just going to be a fun conference. This is the best conference in college basketball again this season, in my opinion. Of course, it was at the SEC last year. But this year, the Big 12 has overtaken that. So shout out to Kansas for being, in my opinion, I mean, I think the biggest story of this tournament is for sure Michigan just plowing everybody. But the second biggest storyline and the most shocking storyline is Kansas going 3-0 and winning a big one against Tennessee. So big shout out to the Jayhawks. I'm not really that concerned for the Volunteers. I think, if anything, Jacoby Gillespie really struggled in this game. 1 for 10 from three is not great. I get a lot of those shots were just sort of desperation shots at the end, trying to get his team back into the game. But man, when you're 5 for 19 from the field, 1 for 10 from three as the point guard, it's a rough look. He plays with a lot of aggressiveness, and I love that from Jacoby Gillespie. He's just going to have these sort of games. I mean, Melvin Council, as I was saying, is a great defender out there. So it's tough to hit shots over really good closeouts, and that's what Gillespie was dealing with, and that's why he went 1 for 10. Nate Ament played great today. I think we saw a different side of Nate Ament, not just the great scorer side, the one-on-one side, the guy that's an elite shooter. And that's not the side of Nate Ament that impressed me today. To me, it was the Rick Barnes side of Nate Ament, which is the scrappiness, the tenacity, the effort. I mean, he had a couple offensive rebounds in this game that I was really impressed by. He had 9 rebounds, which would have led the team if Jalen Carey didn't exist. And I love Jalen Carey. He's just like the complete personification of Rick Barnes' programs is Jalen Carey, and I love that about him. But I think Nate Ament, of course, is only going to get better. Only 5 for 15 from the field today, but he was aggressive. He played well, and he dropped 20 points and did everything he could for this team to win this football or this basketball game. But outside of him, I mean, Tennessee didn't necessarily shoot well. They didn't really get out rebounded, but I mean, Kansas was able to equal them on the boards. And I think when you have bad shooting games for Tennessee, this is what's going to happen. And I think this is just more about Kansas than Tennessee. I think Tennessee's still a great team. I still think they're the best team in the SEC for sure. I've been saying that since I watched them play. Oh gosh, who did they play in the first round of this tournament? I forget. Whoever they played, it was Rutgers. They played Rutgers, and I watched Gillespie and Nate Ament, and I said, this is the best team in the SEC. They beat Houston. They lost to Kansas. But still, this team is great. This is an overall win for Tennessee in this tournament with that win over Houston. And real impressive stuff from both the Volunteers and the Jayhawks at the Players Air Festival. And I liked watching both these teams. I think they're both set up to have great seasons. But venturing away from the championship game and the third place game, the one other game I really wanted to discuss that happened at this Players Air tournament in day 3 was the Auburn Tigers taking down St. John's 85-74. They won by 11 points, and just a big time win for Auburn, their best win of the year so far. And therefore the best win for the Tigers under the Stephen Pearl regime. So, how did this one happen for Auburn? First of all, this was a really interesting game. St. John sort of had a grip on this one for most of the first half and to start the second half. They were up by more than 10 a number of times, and it sort of felt like their defense and their front court and their talent were going to overwhelm the Tigers and just sort of force them out of this game. And it honestly should have, but Auburn just got back into it, and it was an inspired, incredible effort from Tahad Pettiford. And I think this game is so Stephen Pearl. I think Stephen Pearl is a great leader. I think he's really, really building a mantra at Auburn that, I mean, always Bruce Pearl teams had this for sure, but Stephen Pearl team, I think he's been a great hire. I think he's going to really work out at Auburn because of games like this when his team is down in the dumps. When you have a team that's down 10 against a talented team, it is not easy to get them to keep fighting. And yet Auburn never doubted. They gave 102% all throughout the second half, even when they were losing. And I think that's the main reason that they won this game. Pettiford, 27 points, 10 for 19 from the field, 3 for 8 from three, 2 assists, 3 turnovers. Wasn't the best facilitator, but was a great scorer in this basketball game. Auburn might need games like this from Pettiford to win against big-time opponents because the rest of their team is not elite offensively. But they got one tonight for sure against the Johnnies. Keyshawn Hall was also good in this game. One of his best games in an Auburn uniform at 20 points. He's great in transition. I mean, Keyshawn Hall has no fear in transition, even if it's a 3-on-1. He just sort of attacks, and if he gets fouled, he gets fouled. That's why he had 12 trips to the line today. Or not 12 trips, but 12 free throw attempts. And if he scores, he scores. He's great with both left and right hands, and I really like him. The shooting, it sort of feels like Stephen Pearl has realized this Auburn team is not an elite shooting team. Kevin Overton hasn't looked great this year. Pettiford, of course, is a good shooter, but outside of him, none of these guys have shot the ball well this season. And in this game, they only took 14 threes against a good St. John's defense. And I kind of like that. I like that from Stephen Pearl. You don't have to put up 33 pointers a game to be an elite offense in college basketball. You don't. And if you don't believe me, look what Arizona's doing. Look at what St. John's did last year. Well, that's not. They weren't an elite offense last year. But I'm just saying. I was impressed with the adjustment that Stephen Pearl made, realizing this team is not an elite shooting team and winning even despite that. So I still think Auburn is flawed in a lot of ways. I don't think that they're nearly as elite as they were last year, but I think they're a good team. I think they compete in the SEC. I think that Pettiford can lead them to a couple big wins. I think they'll make the tournament. I think I would project them as maybe a 5 seed, maybe a 6 seed, maybe a 4 seed, somewhere in that range. And they're still a solid squad, and I really have a lot of hope for what Stephen Pearl's going to do with this program. I think he's the right hire, and I think he's definitely going to be a stud coach for Auburn and live up to his father's name. As far as St. John's goes, I am officially worried about the Johnnies. I am officially sounding the alarm, and I'm officially concerned that this St. John's team is not nearly as good as we thought it was in the preseason. I'll talk about their strengths first, because they do have strengths. They're not terrible. Their strengths, it's in their front court scoring. Zuby Ejiofor, Bryce Hopkins, and Dylan Mitchell are great scorers. They are strong, they are physical, they get to their spots, and they make you pay. Last game against Baylor, Bryce Hopkins was the star. So was Dylan Mitchell. The game before that against Iowa State, Dylan Mitchell went off. And tonight it was Zuby Ejiofor, had 24 points, 6 for 11 from the field, and got to the free throw line very consistently. I mean, out of those three guys, between Zuby, Hopkins, and Dylan Mitchell, it's almost a guarantee that one of them is going to go out and ball and be incredible hard to stop and almost impossible to stop in one-on-ones. And tonight, it was Zuby Ejiofor. But that's not the issue with St. John's. The issue isn't their athleticism. It's not their front court. It's not their lack of rebounding, which is definitely another side issue. But their main issue, and it has been all year, and it was one of their issues heading into this year, is their lack of a point guard. I mean, if you're a college basketball team at any level, I don't care if it's AAU, I don't care if it's high school ball, college basketball, the NBA, if you don't have a good point guard on your team, you're not going to be a good basketball team. And the point guard is the most important position on a basketball team, is point guard and center. And St. John's just doesn't have a point guard. Dylan Darling, they obviously don't trust him. I mean, he only played 7 minutes this game. He's been playing not very many minutes all season long. He's their only 100% point guard player, but he's not very good, or at least he hasn't been very good this season. I love Osiah Sellers. I think Osiah Sellers is a stud, but he's not a point guard. Ian Jackson clearly is not a point guard, or Ian Jackson. I don't really actually know if it's Ian or Ian, but I think it's Ian. I mean, this team just straight up doesn't have a point guard. And you can improve all you want. You can get better shooting. You can, as a team, have a better culture and a better mentality about you. You can rebound better. You can put more effort on the defensive end. The one thing you can't just find halfway through the season is a point guard. It doesn't work like that. You can't just convert a 2 into a 1. So maybe with more reps, Dylan Darling gets better. Maybe Patino finds a way to just make it work without a point guard. But I just don't foresee that happening. I think without a point guard, this team's going to be inconsistent. Their offense isn't going to have a definite identity. And they're just going to be kind of flopping around in the Big East, which is really not what I expected from this team, because they really do have so much talent. Also, as their front court, oh my goodness, I can't speak words right now. As elite as their front court is scoring the basketball, this is not an elite rebounding team. They got out-rebounded by Auburn, a team that has really struggled on the boards this entire year. And, I mean, Zuby, Hopkins, and Dylan Mitchell are great scorers, but they're not, big elite rebounders that are over 6 foot tall that are going to just be vacuums on the defensive glass. So that's another issue to worry about. And I think the definite best team in the Big East right now is UConn. I think they're making that very clear. I really hope St. John's finds it. Like I'm not rooting against the Johnnies. I love St. John's. I think what they've been the last couple of years has been one of the best parts about college basketball the last 2 seasons. And I'm really looking forward to the battles in Madison Square Garden and in Connecticut between St. John's and between UConn. I think it's awesome to see Pitino and Dan Hurley going up against each other. I mean, they clearly don't like each other, but they're trying to make it seem like they do on the press. And I've been psyched out of my mind about those games coming into this year. And if St. John's is just not as elite of a team as we thought they were, those games might not be as fun. They might not be as elite. They might not be as nationally relevant. So I really hope St. John's figures it out. Of course, there's a lot of season left to be played, and they have the opportunity to improve for sure. And Rick Pitino is one of the greatest college coaches of all time. So if you can trust anybody to do it, you can trust Pitino. But as of right now, man, I don't quite see it from St. John's. You can't just find the point guard halfway through the year. That's not how it works. So again, I'm rooting for them. I really hope the Red Storm get better. But man, I don't know if I see it right now, which is really disappointing and it's really unfortunate. Um, I think that's going to do it for this instant reaction podcast. We get more Players Era Festival games tomorrow. I think. I honestly, I don't really know how the tournament is working out, but again, it was an awesome event. Really fun one to cover, really fun one to talk about, and really fun one to watch. And thanks so much for watching this instant reaction podcast. If you get one thing away from this show, from this channel, from just the last 30 minutes, it is not that Michigan is dominant. It's not that Kansas is impressive. It's not that St. John's might fall off a cliff. It is that Jesus loves you and Jesus is the answer. Literally, he's just the answer. That's all I'm going to say about it today. If you have any problem, if you're worried about anything, if you're stressed out, if you're confused, um, if you're trying to find something to give you courage, Jesus is always there for you. He's always listening. He's always offering you peace and comfort. All you have to do is choose him. And it's not just one big choice, it's a choice on a daily basis. And if you make those choices, if you deny yourself in earthly things, you will find true fulfillment in Christ. Um, and so, with that, thanks so much for watching, folks. God bless. Have a great night. Have a great week. And I'll see y'all later.